Professional serving community. Talkradio.nyc.
We're back. It's your boy Tommy D coming at you from my attic, 2 flights up from the kitchen. The show is Philanthropy and Focus. If you've been paying attention for the last, I don't know, 4 years, every single Friday morning I come up here to the attic and I help nonprofits tell their story and amplify their message. And if it wasn't for the relationships I have as the nonprofit sector connector, if it wasn't for the connections I've made over the years with thought leaders in the space, with people who lead organizations, with people who consult with organizations, well, I wouldn't be able to bring you all these guests. So if it wasn't for my friend David Goldstein from Sir Tillman Ballin, which is a major Long Island based law firm, if it wasn't for knowing David and becoming friends with David, and I guess in solidarity, we root for the New York Metropolitans. It's been a rough month for the New York Mets. I mean, it hasn't been a rough month. It's a sad week since last Sunday when I was at Citi Field and the Mets did not win, and that ended the season. It was a great season. But David Goldstein's a friend of mine, invited me to an event out in the Hamptons, which is great when you got a handful of linen suits and you're going to go out to the bougie Hamptons for an event. You know, it's good. You have the right gear. So David invited me out, and I met the team from an organization called Haiti Air Ambulance. And David Ellis, executive director, is here. Good morning, David. How are you?
Hey, good morning. Great to see you.
Great to see you. We got a lot to cover today. There's a couple things I got to cover up front, and then we'll get into the conversation with David and what this organization is all about. But just to stay on that point about relationships and connections, if it wasn't for the people I know, a friend of mine, Greg Levine from McBride Consulting sent me an article last night and then posted it on LinkedIn. I think the article, I have to look it up real quick, but I think it was in the journal. And it was about connecting and relationship building and networking, about connectors. I'll find the article for you guys in a second. But, you know, to be thought of as somebody who is a connector and people think of me that way is really a big deal. And I value that. And I thought about that this morning because now there's a post with me tagged on it on LinkedIn. I think it's so important for us to develop these relationships, nurture these relationships. Last night was North Shore TV's gala. Shout out to North Shore TV, my friend Erica Bradley. I was at that event. Pretty soon, we're going to start a new TV show over there. So soon, more to come on that. A couple of things I got to cover. This coming Tuesday, today is the 25th of October of 2024, as I stand here with you. And October 29th, next Tuesday, I will be in New York City at Gustavino's for the New York City Imagine Awards, 4th annual New York City Imagine Awards. If you haven't got your ticket yet, hurry up and do that, nycimagineawards.com. Rolling right into the Long Island Imagine Awards because the applications are available right now. And the application deadline, if you are a nonprofit and doing work in Nassau-Suffolk County on Long Island, the applications are due on the 25th of November. So you have this coming Tuesday is the New York City Imagine Awards, and the applications where you would set up for Long Island Imagine Awards, go to imagineawardsli.com. So nycimagineawards.com or imagineawardsli.com, or connect with me, Tommy D at Philanthropy and Focus, PHOCUS.com, philanthropyandfocus.com, or hit me up on Instagram. I like the Instagram. I do. It's fun. TommyD.NYC. All right, so let's move into. I get to go out to the Hamptons. I learn about an organization that I didn't know anything about called Haiti Air Ambulance. And you know, my friend David says to me, Tommy D, this is Saturday evening. I know it's a family day and things like that, but it's important to me. And when my friends and colleagues say it's important, I have to do what I can to see if I can make it work. And I was able to meet the team. There was representatives from the organization there. There was a representative from Northwell Health there. And you know, I don't want to say I was an outsider, David Ellis, but I was not aware of your organization. You and I spoke for a couple minutes earlier this week, and I said to you, you know, I wasn't even aware of very much that goes on in Haiti. So I did some research this week to just see some of the, I don't know what, for lack of a better word, challenges that go on in Haiti. I don't know how to say, I don't want to be too bold, but you know, I see gang violence. I see just, I think the Dominican Republic has 10,000 folks that are being pushed out on a daily basis from the DR into Haiti that I guess, so those are maybe originally Haitian folks that moved into DR for probably for the need to get away from some of the violence. There's so much there. When I learned about what your organization was doing, um, I was so taken because it seems like what you're doing is so important and there's so much need in Haiti. So I want to get into all that, but as we do on this show, I want to hear about David Ellis. I want to know about your background. I mean, I looked up some of the stuff you've done on LinkedIn, you know, from your background in healthcare. I mean, I got to look up how to say it, but maybe you'll just correct me. But the experience in helicopters as it relates to healthcare over the years and things like that. And then how does that progression get you to this particular organization? So I always say to my guests, what brought you to this work? What was it? Was it I need to be in the nonprofit sector? Was it I need to be in healthcare? There's always a story there. I'd like to hear your story, David Ellis. How's that sound?
Yeah, that's great.
Let's do it.
Yeah, yeah. It all comes back to the airframe and power plant mechanics class was full, and I got bored waiting on that to start, and I went to night shift EMT class, and then never got back to the regular program.
Is that true? Is
Uh,
it just
and yeah,
couldn't get
in
in that
1995, right? Yeah, yeah. So, and then I remember my original EMT book had a helicopter on the front of it, and I didn't even know such a thing exists. And even in the 1990s, it wasn't that common, but I literally looked at that and said, this is what I want to go do. And I was dumb enough as a 18-year-old to tell all of my seasoned instructors, I'm going to go be on the helicopter, and I was laughed out of the classroom several times, probably justifiably so. And but that was really my whole goal all along, was the helicopter air ambulance piece was just really fascinating to me. And I worked every angle possible, and was fortunate to have a wonderful woman that hired me as a very, very young paramedic. She never should have done that. Shout out, Deb. My flight mom. Yeah, thanks much for that career break you gave me. But I did get into helicopters in the U.S. I had to move halfway across the country to originally do it. But just worked through that industry for quite a while in the U.S. Ended up managing a number of different flight programs, and then in 2014, you saw just a Facebook post of this group in Haiti that had a helicopter that was asking for volunteers, and we're really possessive in the helicopter realm. If you work for one service, you can't you just automatically go work for another service. Everything you start over just like you're brand new and go through orientation. So a place, especially in another country, that would just let you come volunteer for a couple of weeks was really fascinating. So jumped on that bandwagon pretty quick, went down over Thanksgiving 2014, and really fell in love with the place. The healthcare in the United States is so corporate. I mean, yes, you are helping people, but in reality, most of the time you're just making money for somebody else. That's just how it is, and coming to a place that's pure philanthropy, that we're just helping the most underserved of the underserved people and making a gigantic difference in somebody's life that didn't have any other, no other option. We're the only chance they've got. Was really fascinating. So I ended up being a serial volunteer for a number of years, came down a bunch of times, ended up taking a contract leadership spot a couple different times, and then was fortunate in 2020 when the executive director role was open, that they called and asked if I would be interested in assuming that full time, and of course I was. So that leads us to here.
That's awesome. I want to go back a little bit because, first of all, life is so wild when literally you couldn't get into what was the class that was closed out that you got into the EMT?
It's the aircraft mechanics class, which is crazy because I hate doing anything mechanical. I'm not sure what I was thinking, but I was 18, so I probably wasn't.
You were 18. Let's be honest, man. I don't know that you were thinking. I know I wasn't thinking until I was about 35. So you had this path. You could have been in that class. You're not, and then life's funny how it kind of puts us in front of something, or something in front of us for an opportunity. Even before we get to Haiti and before we get to Haiti Air Ambulance, I mean, the adrenaline in doing this work. I mean, I think of, people in healthcare. I was at this event last night for North Shore TV, and they're on the campus. This studio is on the campus of Northwell, which here in New York, Northwell is the big behemoth healthcare system, Long Island, New York City, up to upstate New York, and really being there like last night, seeing all this, I got to. They were showing some videos because it was the 40th anniversary of this organization. They were showing some videos as it related to COVID and first responders and things like that. And I just wonder, I've seen people in the emergency department, sometimes fictional on TV and sometimes in real life, see these things. Um, the adrenaline must be incredibly pumping. You're there to save people's lives. And then you throw in, oh, and we're on a helicopter too. Like it's not, it's right. Tell me about that. And just, not to say you do it for the adrenaline, but it's just you're in the moment. What's that feel like?
Well, a lot of us do actually do it for the adrenaline a little bit, but it's there's some terribly embarrassing stories I could tell on myself, which I probably won't. When I was really young, you get in those huge incidents and you kind of freak out a little bit and start screaming on the radio or something. But I think that as you mature a little bit in the business, that's one of the things that you really learn to do is just be the voice of calm. You might be 600 miles an hour on the inside, but personally, kind of my tactic was the worse it got, the slower I would feel like I was moving, and the slower I would talk. And you got to press all that down and calm everything down. Reality, you're still moving pretty quick,
Right.
but you actively control all that, and that also kind of becomes a point of pride too, where it's just absolute chaos, and you can just appear to be completely unfazed, just have control, be the person in the room that knows what to do and knows what we're going to do next. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that's critically important to think about too, because if I'm the patient or I'm in need and you're freaking out and you're the guy that's supposed to be helping me out, man, I'm not feeling too good, brother.
very unhelpful. Yeah.
No, you're not exactly helping the situation. But if you calm it down and you're very deliberate with language and things like that, right? Or even deliberate with like the actions and things, I'm gonna go, wow, this guy knows what he's doing. Otherwise, if he's jumping around with his hair like on fire, then we're in trouble here. If he's not in control or she's not in control, right?
Yeah,
So
and if you think about what the helicopter does here in the U.S., you're not the first person responding. Another agency has called you, other paramedics have called you because the situation's bad enough that they need help. And getting in the back of the ambulance to help them out, and you being the one that's freaking out, you should be calming them down.
yes,
You bring the peace and the calm. The solution's here. It's going to be all right. Let's work through this.
that's all.
Yeah, yeah.
How how big are these helicopters that you like? How many? Tell me about that. Because what about the equipment? Not generally, and then specifically what we have with Haiti Air Ambulance.
Yeah, it's like flying a patient trying to work in a coffin.
Really?
It's very, 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 very small. Yeah. In most ambulances, you've got a reasonable amount of space. But just because of the size and the weight restrictions and everything in a helicopter, it is very, uh, very small. I call it having to perform helicopter aerobatics, stuff that you would do in ambulance that you can move around and get done, even if it's starting an IV in somebody's arm or managing an airway. Heaven forbid you have to do CPR. It is just difficult to pull off. And again, it's just another skill that you learn. But yeah, it's a very compressed environment. You want to be able to stay seat belted in the whole time and restrain and stay safe, but still be able to do patient care. So yeah, it's you and your best couple of your best friends with a really sick person in a closet.
Yeah.
So
You know what, man? Well, who wouldn't sign up for that? That's it for sure.
right, yeah.
So we're gonna get into some stories and things like that. I want to get into the vision of the organization, really the impact that the organization's making. Ultimately, we always get into how can we help, how can we be part of the solution. So we'll be setting up for that. We're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, I want you to take us through kind of it was 2014. You're a volunteer. I want to know what that felt like as a volunteer. And then we're gonna talk about what David Ellis, the executive director, sees and that through that lens. But really just what it's all about, what the flair of this organization is and the impact we're making. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
We will be right back. This is Philanthropy in Focus. I am your friend, the one and only nonprofit sector connector, Tommy D. Right back.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
If you don't have your health, what do you really have? It's time to feel good in your body and shift from struggle to ease. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Tripp, your host of Nourish the Soul, where we explore the sacred wisdom of your body while you sit back, relax, and go on a journey of self-discovery. Join me every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to awaken your heart, transform your well-being, and unlock a deeper understanding of yourself.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
From the first segment, I'll tell you this, gang. If you ever get waitlisted or locked out of a class that you thought you wanted to be in, take it as an opportunity, because in some cases it can create the rest of your life, your entire career. You know, I don't know, David Ellis, you remember this movie? It was called Sliding Doors, I think it was called, or it was a movie where this woman she takes two trails. The movie has like two stories. She makes the subway train and she gets on the train before it leaves and she misses it. And then the trajectory of the two different lives that she could have had. She makes the train, she goes home, she catches her partner cheating on her. And that goes in that whole story. She misses the train and that whole situation is cleaned up before she gets there. And then there's that whole story. I think it's called Sliding Doors. Well, maybe somebody will help me out. We'll have that answer for you. If not, Google it, gang. I don't know. You have the internet. But what a world where just these different things that happen to us totally change the trajectory of where we go and what we do. And really, equally as importantly, the impact we make, because now you're leading this organization as the executive director. And you know, do you ever think about that? Like, what if you got in that class? Like, what if you were a mechanic?
You know, as much as I hate even changing my own oil, I think it would have been terrible. So I think it's very fortunate.
So you might not have lasted very long in that class anyhow.
Looking at the mechanics that we have now and how meticulous they are and extremely detail oriented, I think that would have not worked out great for me.
Fair enough. So you do realize it for sure. So let's get there. It's 2014. You're volunteering. How does that work? When you said that I don't know how you refer to the groups, but like the crew or something, you said are very possessive. So the fact that you were able to get in as a volunteer with Haiti Air Ambulance down in 2014, did you, as you were volunteering, were you still working somewhere else or were you strictly a volunteer? Like, what is that all about?
Oh yeah, I just took a couple weeks off work to go down, and I mean it's, you know, we're each service in the U.S. You know, when I say possessive is very, you know, just because there's two helicopters in one town doesn't mean that you could just walk across the street and pick up a shift on the other one. You know, it's the same job, and people don't want to admit that. Everybody thinks they're better than everybody else,
Sure.
but that's just not reality. You know, it is the same deal, but you know, you typically can't just move between places. So the fact that these guys were running a you know, helicopter air ambulance in another country and they were soliciting volunteers was really, really neat. So I thought I would have the best chance of getting picked if I went over the holidays. I picked going down for about 14 days over Thanksgiving. They did call me back, and I went down. It's kind of, you know, into the unknown. I mean, similar to what you expressed earlier, I didn't know much about Haiti. You know, it was kind of an uncontrolled environment, but jumped on a plane, went down. Had a great experience. The folks that had started the air ambulance down there, I mean, did a spectacular job. We've always been and still are, it's not a service that's, oh, it's just Haiti kind of mindset. I mean, we do everything to US standards. People try and send me expired medication and stuff. It's like, no, you don't use that in the US, we won't use it in Haiti. But yeah, and that starts off from everybody that initiated the service. It's always been very top notch. It's always been very focused on high quality. Just because you're a Haitian citizen doesn't mean you should get anything less than anybody else in the world would get. So we've always tried to be very high end. And in some cases, I think we do some stuff that would be unusual even in the US because of the environment.
So give me an example of what would be unusual.
Well, we've got a portable laboratory machine. Essentially, we can do your blood labs in the field, partially as a service to the patient so we can help fix you, but also as a service to the hospitals. A lot of hospitals don't have a lab in-house. We may take a sick patient, the doctor's going to take 24 hours to get labs back to really be able to treat the patient. So we decided a few years ago, if we were able to do that in the helicopter, that we do a great service to not only the patients, but to the physicians that are receiving the patient. And it is done some in the United States, certainly not widespread, but just different things like that. The environment there lends itself to make sure that we're doing the best that we can for our patients and our partners.
Yeah, so I thank you for that. I shared the website while we were at break, and the website, everybody, is HaitiAirAmbulance.org, HaitiAirAmbulance.org. So let's the difference is, like you talked about, like that piece about the labs that are done in the helicopter, meaning like the patient shows up and the labs are already done. So because we're talking about emergent situations, obviously, right? And then the thing I wanted to pull that I saw on the website is it could take, in Haiti, travel to medical care can be a brutal trip lasting up to 12 hours in some areas. Your donation, this is on the website, it makes it possible for us to provide life-saving helicopter transport that reduces that travel time to 24 minutes. 12 hours to 24 minutes in emergent situations, David Ellis, right? I mean, most of these folks, you don't have 12 hours to get to medical care, right?
Yeah. There's certainly cases we can't get to that expire before we can get there. You'll see a lot of cases, particularly you get up into some really rural areas where somebody that's got a pretty serious painful injury and the only way you can get around is on the back of a motorcycle. So they're holding on to somebody else, bouncing through, over these trails and stuff just to try and get to, the first medical provider they can find, much less, definitive medical care. So that's a big piece that we're trying to help with and help prevent those trips from having to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and so 2,000 patients have benefited from the work that your organization has done. That it tells me, here's some statistics: 124 rural clinics and major hospitals depend on us for patient transport. That's a lot, man. How many? I think I knew this from when I met you all out in the Hamptons, but how many helicopters do you have right now?
So we run one helicopter, one crew right now, covering the entire 12 million population. So we're we got no competition. We're the only philanthropy helicopter in the country that's flying patients. So we cover the whole country from our base there in Port-au-Prince.
That's unbelievable. And you also, so it's not only patient care, but if I remember correctly, it's bringing in supplies and different things like that as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Port-au-Prince and the situation right now, essentially it's an island. We've got armed gangs that have all the roads blocked, on all sides of the city. In a country with 2 international airports, one far up in the north, and then Port-au-Prince, where pretty much everything comes in, distribution of any supplies of any type is very difficult, given the condition on the road. So, as the situation's changed in the last couple of years, our mission has changed a little bit. So, we are, using this resource that we've got that's very rare in the country. There's only a couple of helicopters that exist there at all, and we're certainly the only air ambulance. But we have really moved into, we've moved a lot of physicians. You get these doctors that are, very critical to operation of different hospitals, being able to get them to and from a hospital. In particular, I mean, a few weeks ago, we flew Haiti's only cardiologist out to do an assessment on a set of conjoined twins that were born that really needed their assessment done. And so that was kind of a unique case, but certainly something that we're happy to help with. Yes, sir.
I have to pause you for a second. This is an island of, did you say 12 million people?
Around 12, yeah.
And you said Haiti's only cardiologist.
Correct.
For all these people, there's one cardiologist. Folks, what are we doing, world? What exactly are we doing here? Like, I don't understand this situation. I what's going on around this planet right now blows my mind, to be honest with you, David Ellis, with all the things. And this is not a political show, and I'm not going to get into any of this stuff, gang. We're not doing it. We don't do it here. But I don't understand, as a race of human beings, that this is like. This is the best we got. This is what we're going. This is what we're showing up with. Really? I don't know, David. I just rant sometimes. I get up on my soapbox because it makes me sad. I don't understand how this is a thing. I used to go, I don't understand how some person could, live on the street and be eating out of a trash can, and 50 yards away, somebody's paying $150 for a steak. I don't understand that. But then you take that and you extrapolate that over this whole planet, and that individual who's finding a meal in a trash can, tragically, is better off than people in another part of the world.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? And that makes me angry, and it makes me sad, and I don't have the solutions. But to see organizations like yours that are doing this great work, to know there's one cardiologist, how important is the relationships that an organization like yours has with, I would guess, people from the United Nations, political folks, to be able to just to be protected, for lack of a better way. I mean, like, one of the things I saw is I think it was a UN helicopter was just shot down, was shot at. I don't think it was shot down, but shot at in the last 48 hours. The gang violence you talk about, the uncontrollable nature of what, I think that's the way you said it. It's an uncontrollable situation, or it's out of control. How important are those ties and those relationships and those networks to not only grant access to what you all are doing, but also from a protection perspective?
Yeah, it's I mean, a couple different aspects there. I mean, the relationships, that's one thing that we offer. Any healthcare provider that needs our services, if you think about it, you're in a small clinic, there's one, maybe two providers there. And there's no requirement for care if you show up at a hospital in Haiti. So we can't, in the United States, we get the fire department shut down an intersection, we land at your accident, I pick you up, we go to the trauma center, we'll tell them 5 minutes before we get there, hey, we're coming with this trauma patient, boom, all done. It's not the requirement in Haiti. You have to have acceptance from a physician, you have to assure that the bed's available, you have to make sure if there's any payment arrangements, all that's done before the patient shows up. So that is a service. We've got, a number of communication specialists that are really just magicians. The stuff that they get done so quickly is just amazing. There's only a couple hospitals that are kind of comprehensive in Haiti that cover most things, but our communication specialists keep track of where the different physicians are, and this week this hospital can take care of this type patient, and really help us with placing those patients and take that load off of a provider out in the field that's trying to, I mean, you can imagine trying to take care of a sick person and make dozens of phone calls trying to figure out somebody that'll take them. That's a huge service that we offer to take that off. Like I said, with our comm specs that somehow keep up with all that information and just magically make it happen. But a lot of that is, I think one thing that we do trying to stay safe is specifically stay out of politics, because if you're on the right side of politics at some point in Haiti, you're going to be on the bad side of politics at another point. Yeah. So, staying very neutral, we're here just to help people. I think after, over 10 years now, we've got great brand recognition. Everybody knows that we're there to help. What happened yesterday with the UN helicopters is pretty unfortunate. I mean, that helicopter, primarily moves food around the country. So, and it did get hit, nobody got hurt. It did get hit a few times. But if that aircraft's out of service, that's really going to hurt the humanitarian effort there, and that could flow over into, I don't know what the response is going to be if the Haitian government's going to close down, flights in the country, or, it may have some blowback on us as well. But, generally, we aren't messed with. I think everybody, including the gangs, know that, we're there to help. Their survival depends on the population tolerating them. There's not that many of them, and the population has shown in the past that they can definitely take gangs out quite violently if they decide they want to. So generally us and the UN's food program helicopter both, have been viewed very positively, but it only takes, one drunk teenager with a rifle to have a moment and shoot at something. And I mean, that I doubt this was an orchestrated hit. It was somebody that just, was kind of generally firing in the air and did manage to hit it. So it's quite unfortunate.
Yeah, yeah, it's and that just goes to show, talk about humanitarian efforts, the fact that the folks on your team, the fact that the folks that are on the helicopter, that are doing the work, that are on the front lines, are heroes. You're out there putting yourself at risk for somebody else. I mean, that's unbelievable. That's an unbelievable situation. So thank you for that, and thank the team for that, certainly. And I'm happy to be able to highlight this and show other people that this organization is out there doing this great work. That's what this was for me, David Ellis. This show, it was like an opportunity for me to say, hey, I got my eyes on something incredibly important, and now I get to share it. So when we come back, I want to talk more about like day-to-day operation stuff. Like, are you often in Haiti? Are you more here in the States? That sort of thing. Who's in Haiti? What their jobs are day in and day out. There was a gentleman there. There was a gentleman on the panel when we were out at the event on Long Island who was telling stories. I couldn't tell you his name, but I don't know if he was one of the chief medical folks on the team. But
Dr. Jacobin, probably, yeah.
Yeah. And he was telling some stories. Jacobin, you said?
Dr. Jacobin, yeah.
Jacobin. And he was telling some stories just about the experience, and you could see in his eyes how the emotion, because what folks in your position are seeing on a daily basis is just really unbelievable. So if we can talk about some of the experience and what the team's doing, so people get a feel for it, because at the end of the day, what I'm always talking about is how can we help? How can we make connections? How can we get, certainly a big part of all my nonprofit friends, what we need revenue, we need dollars, we need money to run the programs. So I always find if we tell these folks what the programs are, then we can talk to them about things we need. So when we come back, let's talk a little bit about what that all looks like every day. This is Philanthropy in Focus. We're right back. Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Hi, I'm Linda Marcanico. The A Train to Sedona is a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. It's also the name of my new broadcast on Wednesdays at 12 noon. When we are spiritual, we embrace possibilities and ideas, which strengthen our mind, body, spirit, health, and wisdom. On the A Train to Sedona broadcast, I plan to interview guests who embrace these expansive practices. Join us on Wednesdays at 12 noon on Talk Radio New York City.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
That's right. Join me in the attic. All right. So the show is Philanthropy in Focus. My guest is David Ellis, Executive Director of Haiti Air Ambulance. And I am still sharing my page. I'm sharing the website. So if you're watching the video somewhere and you found this, I wanted David just to show this, some of the focus areas: maternal and perinatal care, patient and doctor transport, emergency response, healthcare training, and employment. So, those are obviously the tenets of the organization. So maybe we could talk about, weave those 4 focus areas into some of the stories about what your team is doing on the ground and in the air as it relates to the organization each day.
Yeah, I mean, our team really is composed of two different groups. We've got a group of us from the U.S. that cycle through Haiti. There's four of us. Typically spend about half our time in country and then rotate back. And then we've got our team on the ground there. That's our Haitian doctors, our EMTs, our dispatchers, some of the office staff that are there 24/7. You mentioned Dr. Jacketon earlier. And he's like, a number of our other staff that have chosen to stay in that environment, that have the ability. I mean, in his case, is a very talented physician. He's done internships in France. He's extremely well educated. Certainly could get a job somewhere else in the world in a much calmer place. And he's not the only one. I'm using him as an example, but certainly a lot of our other staff are in the same boat, that they see what we're doing, how we're trying to help. They want to stay and help make their country better, and actively choose to be there. So, you say, oh, well, we're heroes. We go work in Haiti. Well, yeah, but I mean, all of our U.S. staff, we leave. We're gone half the time. And my Haitian staff, they're just really amazing in that they do have the opportunity to leave and go somewhere else, but actively choose to stay in that environment with the day-to-day threats that are around. And really try to make their home country better. So you want to talk about the actual heroes? Those guys are it. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
As far as our different, obviously you see Haiti or ambulance, you think, oh, well, it's an ambulance. Well, I mean, we were, and that was originally what we were conceived to do, but it's a much broader piece than that. So yes, we do fly patients in the helicopter. It's kind of our foundational mission. But there's a lot of pieces that go along with that. We've got our EMTs who run really an amazing education and training program. We run thousands of people through CPR and first aid and stop the bleed classes every year. They're even teaching, the pharmacy students, the medical schools all come to us for that basic first aid training. And they do a fantastic job with that. So, again, we're fortunate that we've got a great resource in the operations and our building and the helicopter and that kind of thing. We try and find every way that we can to maximize the benefit that we're doing while we're there in Haiti. Certainly with our staff, something we try to do is our dispatchers get, flight dispatch certified, our EMTs get certified. And really what we want to do for people is, even if they leave, they've got that skill set that is going to benefit them for the rest of their life as well. And we've seen that with some of our staff that have been able to come to the U.S. and been able to use that skill set that they've learned with us to really have productive lives here in the U.S. Emergency response, one thing that's really kind of jumped out, especially with the earthquake a couple of years ago, we saw this in North Carolina and Florida recently. FEMA will respond, but it's going to be 3, 4, 5 days later. It takes a long time to get that huge machine working. And with, whether it's a small incident like a field truck fire with a lot of casualties, or a really big incident like the earthquake a few years ago, we're right there. I mean, we immediately respond. We're a 24/7, 365 organization in Haiti. We don't have any spin up time as far as needing to, get everybody together and fly into the country. So, we're able to get right out there on the front line immediately. And then because we're familiar with how things work in the country, where everything is, and have all those connections, we're able to help other organizations as they start to respond, to help make their response more efficient.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the piece about the training that you're talking about. You mentioned CPR training and not just the training for your individual team and that professional development. So, whether they're with you for the next 30 years or they move on to something else, they're empowered to do that. But it's that in-country training that you're doing you said stop the bleed, you said the CPR, right? That's super important, because it's super important generally. And then you put it in the scenario where it's tough to get to medical care. Folks are gonna have to do a lot on their own initially, right? To take care of things. I want to speak about, give me some examples of some stories if you could, David. I mean, like, if we're gonna make people cry, let's do it, bro. I mean, what are we gonna do? But we don't necessarily have to. But it could be just great stories of things that, like, lives that have changed. And obviously there's some tragedies that you guys are unable to help somebody, whether it be the timing and things like that. So can we speak to some of those stories?
Yeah, this just kind of on that, one of the differences is, with this, say you've got the same service United States, we were supposed to be off the ground in, 7 or 8 minutes, and it's just a really fast response. But like I mentioned in the earlier segment, in Haiti, we have to have an accepting hospital, accepting doctor, make sure there's a bed available. So there are a lot of times that we'll have, actually the majority of the time, that we've got a whole list of people that are waiting for our service. And yes, we try to get to the sickest first, but sometimes those critical beds just aren't available. So somebody who's less sick is able to get flown because we can find a space for them. And then we're only legally allowed to operate during daylight. So we go home at night, we come back the next day, and our communications folks will start making phone calls and see, who died overnight. Who do we take off the list because they're dead? Who got to go, was able to go by ground, and then what new patients do we have? And then we readjust the list and start over again every day. So, there's really not a bottom to the amount of need. I was talking with David Colner yesterday, who you met, and he said, well, how many helicopters? If we just had the right deal, how many helicopters? I'm like, I can't really answer that because we can find work for however many we've got. I mean, we can't possibly fund the number that we would need to really get everything done, and so really it's just a case of we have to do the most with the resources we have, trying to find the best way to apply those resources in the largest fashion possible for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be like one of the obvious questions I would ask, the question Dave asked you yesterday, because I would be like, well, all right, well, it's not an infinite amount of need, right? It might seem like that, but it's not.
It feels like it.
Right, it feels like 100%, 100% it feels that way, right? But there is, again, there is some number that however many it would be. What does it cost? If I read this correctly on the website, I think it says it costs, each month the organization aims to fund one crucial flight mission, which requires $4,500. Is crucial flight mission, what does that refer to?
So that's just that particular piece is just a fundraising effort. Obviously we do a lot more than one flight per month, but if you look at it across the course of a year, that's on average about what it would cost to fund the helicopter, all the medical supplies, the skilled staff on board, the dispatchers, mechanics. That's about what it costs per trip.
Per trip. So every time a patient gets a ride somewhere and is brought to healthcare, it costs $4,500
on average. Yeah.
On average. Okay. What would it cost for a new helicopter?
They run about 2.5. That's very broad, depending on what you're getting.
That's not exactly fair. That wasn't a fair question.
Yeah, typically with what the machines that we would use, about $2.5 million all in. So
$2.5 million, and then the carrying cost and staff and everything like that.
Right.
And
yeah.
as we talk about no lack of need, no lack of you could be busy with 10 vehicles. 10.
We could find work. Yeah.
So from a growth perspective, I'm one of these, like, I don't know, maybe it's counterintuitive, man. I mean, I live in a capitalist society, but I also have trouble believing that there's not enough for us to solve all these problems. I think it's really, for me, and I'm not educated enough and have the answers to these things. I just play around with ideas, but I think it's a distribution problem in my mind. It's not it's an access and distribution situation versus what's there. There's abundance. I just don't think we allocate it the right way. I don't know if you want to weigh in on that, because I think there's probably enough
I'd agree
to get all the helicopters you need. Sorry to interrupt you, but just to get all the helicopters you need and to feed all the people that need to be fed, I just do folks really need that many cars? Do folks really need that big house? Like, for real? Like, is that, I don't believe that's a good setup, but what do you have to say about that?
No, I agree. There's, it is aggravating from our standpoint, as we're purely philanthropy based. We don't charge patients, or, there's no fee or anything for service. But, you see the stuff that U.S. government spends money on. You see the stuff that these different big organizations spend money on. You think that's neat. That's really great that you could support that bakery, but we're trying to literally save people, keep kids from starving, send vaccines out, fly really sick people. And, sometimes it just feels like, why is this a struggle to get funding? It seems like it should be the easy button. I realize everybody's got their own, their own focus, and that's understandable, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, I think there's a lot out there. It's really just an allocation and and really just, governments and organizations having a determination on how much change they want to influence.
Yeah, I think I yes to everything you said, and I think it's bigger than a government situation. I think it is literally a mindset and a focus situation. We incentivize, in my opinion, much of the wrong behavior, right? And we disincentivize the really good stuff that people are doing. I operate in the nonprofit sector. I hang out with people who lead organizations like you're doing, and they tell me all the time. Now, it might be different in your organization because these are uh, individuals have different certifications in your world, but oftentimes in this sector, the frontline workers in the nonprofit are not making enough money. I just had this conversation last week on the program where there are individuals who work in the service sector with nonprofit organizations, direct care workers, and they have to get a second and sometimes a third job to make ends meet because the job that they have for the nonprofit is not enough. That's ridiculous, folks. That doesn't make any sense. That whereas we incentivize people to work in the financial services industry who make all this money, and my opinion, now I'm going to get in trouble, but my opinion is, are you really doing anything to change the world? Is that really where we're going to put the money? I don't know, man. I don't know if I'll be here long enough to understand how it all works, David Ellis, but I think in terms of if we change the lens through which we see the world and we realize that we're all here to do the right thing for each other, to be compassionate, to be loving. And I'm not going to say, I don't look at like it's one planet, it's one people, right? But I feel like it's you're doing this work in this important place and they're not getting the services, but here where I operate from, why I was born in the States, man. I live on Long Island, man. What like that's we don't see this level of need, but we see a different level of need. So I don't know. I'm not going to figure it out. If you want to talk to me about this, gang, and you want to help me understand this, send me an email, Tommy D at philanthropy and focus.com. David Ellis, we're going to go back. We'll be back for we'll take one last quick break. We'll come back and we'll do our final segment, which is really like, how can we help? Who are you looking for relationships with? Are there folks in the States? Are there folks in Haiti that you want to connect with? And, whether they be specific individuals or you might say, hey, last week I had on the show my friend Lisa Birch, and she said, Tommy, we're really looking for a corporate partner to sponsor our garden that we're going to be doing at Epic Family Services. And I said, oh, that's really a cool thing. That's a specific ask. So any specific asks you have, let's get into that. How's that sound for you, David?
Works good for me.
All right, good, because you stuck with me. All right, we'll be right back.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Broncu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy and Phocus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
I love that song. I wrote the lyrics to that song. My friend Brendan is the singer of that song. Shout out to Brendan Levy, Queens Chamber of Commerce, and the band Damaged Goods. David Ellis, my friend's band, they used to be called the Goods back in the 90s, and now they're called Damaged Goods because they're old men at this point. And but I would say when I go to visit with them and see them, they're anything but damaged. But one of my kids was saying to me, "Hey, I love your song, Dad, but I think we need a new song." So I don't know. I was thinking about kind of a reggae type version of that song. So we'll see. I'd love to know if anybody wants to play around and make a new song. Let me know. Reach out. You learn things about people, David, that I was running a meeting for the Nonprofit Resource Hub, which is an organization we founded. I founded with our friend David Goldstein from Sir Tillman Ballin and some other partners. And I was running a networking meeting with the group on Monday of this week. And what I kept bringing up was, tell us something. We're all business professionals. We want to help each other grow our businesses, but tell us something like we don't know about each other. You find out sometimes people are singers, people play guitar, right? People are in what's that thing? Frisbee, the disc, like ultimate Frisbee leagues, like,
Yes. Yeah.
So I didn't know I was going to ask you this, but is there anything like, so we can connect further with David Ellis? Is there anything cool that we should know about you, like that you're into?
Well, when I'm in Haiti, I live in a very compressed, very busy, sometimes very loud city. So I do the opposite here I live in North Georgia. Barely any neighbors visible. I have no idea how many chickens and rabbits, and there are 3 goats. I know how many of those there are, but yeah, a little mini farm out here in the woods. So
I love that. I forgot that actually that happened when we were texting the other day that you sent me that picture. Because
At the backyard, right?
Yes, yes, yeah. Because I have my friend is in my friend and partner in the Professionals and Animal Lovers show. She's in Greenville, South Carolina. So I mentioned that I saw your LinkedIn said Greenville. So I was like, oh, what's the story? And I said we do the show Professionals and Animal Lovers. I forgot you sent me. It was like a video with the goats and stuff like that. So.
Oh, yeah.
I get that, man. I looking like I live this fast paced thing too, so I need to mellow out, like and just relax and chill out and things like that. So thanks for sharing that for sure. So let's get into like what is the future of Haiti Air Ambulance? As you said, tongue in cheek, we're not going to run out of prospective clients, that's for sure, and people you need to serve. We got that. What do you need? How can we help? Are there certain relationships that you benefit from knowing?
Yeah, I mean, we're like I mentioned earlier, we're really starting to kind of change our business focus a little bit rather than just being a helicopter air ambulance, which is great. We've gotten up, in the last year to about 500 patients a year that we're really helping out, and that's fantastic. But again, we're in a country that has severe travel problems. Not just the roads being bad, but then a lot of these being blocked. There being a lot of combat essentially on some of the roads. So we've got this great resource. So really our thought process is right now, how can we help 200,000 people? How can we help 100,000 people? And that's really where we've focused. We're shopping now for a cargo type helicopter. If anybody's just got one sitting in the backyard, hit me up. That'd be great. Just looking at ways that we can take our skill set. We know how to aviate in Haiti. We've been maintaining helicopters and flying safely there for 10 years now. We've got, almost 200 landing zones all over the country that are pre-set up. So we've got that wrapped up. So how can we take that skill set and that knowledge base that we already have and just make it a lot bigger? It's not as, when we're landing on top of some mountain and unloading a bunch of boxes out of a helicopter, that's not as sexy, so to speak, as picking up a really sick patient. But, we can take one load of, 1,200 pounds of food or 10,000 vaccines for newborns out. We're helping a whole lot of people. So that's really, kind of our focus right now is yes, the ambulance piece is foundational for us. That's not going away, but we're trying to find ways to make our resource even more valuable and help a lot more people. As that, we are very active. Thank you for pulling up the website earlier. We're active in keeping that up to date. Very active on social media. I mean, if anybody wants to know kind of what the next thing in the pipeline is for us, I think we communicate that pretty well. But certainly, have people look on the website. There's a lot of different aspects and different things we do, whether it be training or helping out with some midwives groups or disaster response, that kind of thing. If there's different areas that people are interested in and are interested in supporting those, that's fantastic.
How much, first of all, I never know why I end up in these rooms that I end up in, or I never know. I know why I end up in these rooms, but I never know what the outcome could be. A couple weeks ago, I was invited to the Association of Supply Chain Management here on Long Island, and one of the recipients of their honor that night, one of the honorees, works in supply chain at Pfizer. And I met this person that night. I don't have a relationship with this person, but we connected on LinkedIn, things like that. I don't know if that's supposed to be why I was there that night, because I don't know.
Maybe so.
You know what I'm saying, man? Like, I don't know why these things happen. So we're gonna explore that, you and I, because
Great.
I wasn't even gonna say it was Pfizer. I was gonna say a pharmaceutical company, but I already let the cat out of the bag. So, but that's and as far as like you and I both smiled when you said if you have a cargo helicopter, like, sitting in your backyard somewhere. This world is kind of wild, man. Like somebody's got a
Somebody might.
helicopter. Somebody's got a helicopter, Years and years ago, there was a man who got in trouble. He was living in a project apartment in the Bronx in New York City, and he had a wild tiger in there. So my point is, somebody has a cargo helicopter. I don't know how those
I
things
don't want the
relate.
tiger. The helicopter's okay though.
You don't want the tiger. I'm not gonna. Well, trade you a tiger for a helicopter. The thing about it is, people have these resources, and while I have relationships and connections, right? It's all about who are we connected to. So there might be somebody that has these things. Do you have again, wrong words, but like a wish list? I mean, the cargo helicopter, anything else that's like wish list for even relationships. Like I mentioned Pfizer, for example. I mean, that's an international billion dollar company, right? That is adjacent to the work you're doing as it relates to pharmaceutical drugs and things like that. Do you see companies like that as good connections and relationships for Haiti Air Ambulance going forward?
Yeah, I think in a lot of cases, that's really all as we try and do fundraising development in the U.S. It really is just about connections and relationships. You might have, maybe we connect with this person from Pfizer. They don't really have anything for us, but they say, hey, wait a minute, I know this other person. We move over there and find something. Yeah, it's just kind of crazy how that really works. But the hardest thing is for us to fund is actually just day-to-day operations.
Yeah.
Nobody really is interested in that. I mean, we've had phenomenal help of people helping us with, some of our maternity programs and different aspects, training and that kind of thing. But as far as just, we've got to have stuff just to run every day. And nobody really is interested in that. So anybody that's interested in just core operations.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that seems to always be the plight of our industry nonprofit. Nobody wants to fund operations, right? I'll fund that really cool program you're doing, right? But I need people to do that program, right? So I got to pay these people and pay for health insurance. So it'd be cool if you could do that. But listen, there's a lot of resources I want to explore with you. We're running out of time. We're probably out of time at this point. I'm going to have to close it here. David Ellis, I appreciate you. I appreciate the work you're doing. Shout out to your team. Shout out to the leadership of the organization. Shout out to people on the ground. And listen, be compassionate, everybody. Be loving. Look out for your neighbor. And your neighbor is not just the person who you can pass a bag of sugar to next door. This is a global society. Please love everybody. David, thanks for being here. Make it a great day.
Yeah, thanks, Toby.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static.